putting on a real brave face out here, but between me and you, having a really hard time, babe.
The Reagan family was always the heart of the entire Blue Bloods franchise. While New York City was an important setting and the NYPD played a crucial role, the Reagans were the show's core. For 14 seasons, every episode revolved around this tight-knit law enforcement dynasty, but not every Reagan got a happy ending. Some met tragic fates, some before the show even began. Today, we're breaking down every Reagan family member who died in Blue Bloods, and how their losses shaped the series forever. Peter Reagan, the brother. Frank never knew. One of the most heartbreaking deaths in Blue Bloods history happened long before the show even started. Frank Reagan wasn't Henry's only son. There was another, Peter Reagan. But tragically, Peter died as an infant from leukemia before Frank was even born. Devastated, Henry and Betty Reagan kept Peter's existence a secret for decades. Frank grew up never knowing he had an older brother, only discovering the truth much later in life. Had Peter lived, he might have become the family patriarch instead of Frank. But his death left a void in the Reagan family, one that Henry and Betty carried in silence for years. Betty Reagan, the matriarch who started it all. Betty Reagan, Henry's wife and the family's original matriarch, also passed away before the series began. Born in famine-stricken Ireland, she immigrated to New York, married Henry, and started the iconic Reagan family dinners.
It's gotta happen sooner or later.
That's right, Dad.
I particularly liked this lasagna.
A tradition meant to ensure no one ever went hungry, both physically and emotionally. Betty died at 72 after battling an unknown illness. Her death left Henry a widower, and though he remained close to his family, he never remarried. Her legacy lived on through those famous Sunday dinners, where her absence was always felt. Charles Reagan, the troubled patriarch. Henry's father, Charles Reagan, was the man who started the family's law enforcement legacy. A World War I veteran and NYPD officer, Charles was a complicated figure struggling with alcoholism and unemployment during the Great Depression. Though he inspired Henry to join the Marines and later the NYPD, their relationship was strained. Charles' death was never fully explored on the show, but his shadow loomed large over the Reagan family's dedication to justice. Mary Reagan, Frank's lost love. Frank Reagan's wife, Mary, was another loss that haunted the family before Blue Bloods even started. After a battle with cancer, she passed away in 2005, leaving Frank a widower and their children without a mother. Though she never appeared alive on screen, Mary's presence was felt in every family gathering. Her death shaped Frank's stoic leadership and left her children, especially Danny and Jamie, grappling with grief in their own ways. Joe Reagan, the murder that changed everything. The most pivotal pre-series death was Joe Reagan, Frank's eldest son and Danny's older brother.
Do you know how our brother Joe died?
I've heard stories.
An NYPD officer working undercover for the FBI, Joe was murdered by a corrupt cop syndicate known as the Blue Templar. His killer, Sonny Malevsky, was eventually brought to justice, but Joe's death left a permanent scar on the family. Years later, they discovered Joe had a secret son, Joe Hill, who would later join the NYPD, giving the Reagans a bittersweet reunion with a lost piece of their family.
Commissioner, just Henry or Pop. Welcome, Joe.
Linda Reagan, the most shocking loss. And then there was Linda. Danny Reagan's wife, Linda, was the only major family death that happened during the show's run, and it devastated fans. Because the producers chose not to renew Amy Carlson's contract, she had to be written out of the series. Unfortunately, that meant that her character would need to die. Between seasons, she was involved in a helicopter crash, but it was no ordinary tragedy. She was murdered by cartel member Jose Rojas as revenge against Danny. Her death sent him spiraling, fueling his relentless pursuit of justice. Even after catching Rojas, Danny never fully recovered. And now, as he heads into the Blue Bloods spin-off, Linda's memory will continue to shape his story. The Reagan family endured unimaginable losses, some before the show, some during it. But through every tragedy, they held on to each other, proving that even in the darkest moments, family comes first. Which Reagan death hit you the hardest? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more Blue Bloods breakdowns.